Good morning to all participants. Welcome you all for day two at LFDP on implementation of IoT devices with Node-RED interfacing IBM Watson. So as a part of session one today, I would like to introduce Mr. P. Rajkumar sir. Uh, please welcome sir. So before welcoming, I would like to introduce him. Mr. P. Rajkumar sir, working as Associate Professor in the Department of CSE, Vagdevi College of Engineering. He has a stint of over 20 plus years of experience in teaching. Sir published research papers in various journals and international conferences. To his credit, he once won patent on smart vehicles and sir research area includes artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, machine learning, cloud computing, and big data analytics. And sir was the main speaker of international workshop from FDP on IoT with cloud and TensorFlow, which was conducted last year. And recently, sir acquired Amazon Web Services Cloud Practitioner Global Certificate. So I welcome you, sir. Please take over the session, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Krishna, for introducing me to the today's session. Thank you very much. So without wasting much time, I would directly go into the topic. Slide. So, uh, good morning, delegates of today's session. I welcome you all to the today's session. So, today I'm going to talk on IoT. I will give a little bit history about IoT. So here, IoT is not a new subject at all. Actually, it was invented in late 1980s itself in Carnegie Mellon University. They have designed a Coca-Cola vending machine, which was situated in the Carnegie Mellon University, USA. And only students used to maintain that vending machine, but it was not it has not come into light in those days. But in 1999, Kevin Austin first time he has coined the Internet of Things, and by virtue of luck he has become the father of today's modern Internet of Things. And he's also a visionary technologist who used to work as a work at Procter and Gamble, and where he described IoT as a technology that connected several devices with the help of radio frequency ID tags for supply chain management of this Procter and Gamble. And that was the time slowly the things were coming up. Actually, when coming to these sensors and IoT devices, the sensor used to be very costly, very expensive in those days, and it is not within the reach of common people. Only it is available with the research centers like DRDO, NASA, space agencies, and some defense personnel, space agencies like that, and in famous universities in some other countries. As the development took place, advancements in the electronics, now the cost of these sensors has fallen down, dropped down to almost 100 rupees, 50 rupees like that. But in those days, it was so expensive. In order to buy a sensor, it used to be cost for 5,000 or 10,000 like that. And moreover, IoT devices were not popularly designed, and they were customizedly designed for their requirement only. But now a generic designs were available in the market, because of which we are able to use these IoT devices and as well as these sensors. So here in today's session, we'll be seeing these things, focusing on building blocks of an IoT device. Next, what are the different IoT devices available in the market? And throughout the sessions, we'll be using this Raspberry Pi as a example device. And what are the different interfaces with which we work with the Raspberry Pi. And these are the things which we'll be seeing. So here, to be, for example, any device to be eligible as an IoT device, it need to have all these 4 features. One is sensing, actuation, communication, and processing and analytics like that. So here we can compare this IoT device with like analogy between human being and a machine. Like for example, we human beings have 5 senses, as you all know, that eyes, nose, ears, tongue, and skin. These are called the sensory devices of the human being. Similarly, these 5 senses can perform millions of jobs. We cannot even compare with the man-made sensors. And here, for example, if I talk about an actuation, what is an actuation is they are like hands and legs of a human being. So during sleep also at the night time, for example, if an ant bites us or if a mosquito is trying to bite us, automatically our skin sensors takes the reception of that pain and it sends to the brain. Automatically, brain will send a signal to the hand to kill that particular or to crush that particular insect which is trying to bite us. So like that, we human beings automatically perform the sensing and actuation. And as you all know that when we are using Internet of Devices, they are not standalone. Actually, we need to have some kind of network. Throughout the sessions, I've heard some doubts by the audience that how to control it, for example, an electric fan or a ceiling fan like that. We can do it, but the thing is, the electric fan should be connected to the some kind of communication system, some kind of microcontroller, and some kind of network like wireless network or local area network like that. And you can control that electric fan using your mobile application or through a computer system like that from anywhere. Once it is on the network, internet, you can control it from anywhere. That is all about the communications. And moreover, the data which is created by these IoT devices will be very huge. So the tiny IoT devices cannot store at the local systems. So they have to be pushed onto the cloud or some other storage devices which are placed somewhere in the different locations like that. And simply collection of data is not over. For example, if you take a weather monitoring system, so thousands of sensors, maybe even millions of sensors will be collecting data, and they will be stored in the some storage servers. And from there, they perform this analytics and they give us the weather report. If we have historical data, maybe some 1 year, 2 years, or 10 years like that, we can forecast the weather forecast. We can do the weather forecasting and we can predict something like that. So that is the job of analysis and processing. So if any device has these following things, this can be eligible as an IoT device. So here, coming to IoT device, we have majorly 2 types of IoT devices. One is microprocessor based Other one is microcontroller based. So when compared to microcontroller, as we all know that microprocessor is a very powerful device which contains CPU, and you know that i7 processor has come into existence, and uh, and coming to Raspberry Pi is loaded with microprocessor from Broadcom, and its model is BCM2711, and a quad-core Cortex A72 ARM V8 64-bit system on chip, we call it as, with a speed of 1.5 gigahertz. So this is about a Raspberry Pi 4, which is readily available in the market with even 8 GB to 16 GB. The processor is available. Raspberry Pi device is available. So that much powerful it is. Though it is so powerful, one disadvantage with such kind of processor is that it will heat up, the entire device will heat up. We need to use some kind of cooling system. Otherwise, it may burn out like that. That much heat it will generate. We have seen that one. Okay, that is about microprocessor. And coming to microcontroller, it is, as we all know that it has only a CPU in addition with some fixed amount of RAM and ROM, and some other peripherals can be connected to the single chip. Here, we all know that we are using so many uh, electrical appliances like washing machines, air conditioners, and micro oven, etc. So these things are already embedded with microcontrollers. So here, the microcontroller can execute a single job at a time. Once it is programmed, we cannot change that program. That is the problem with the microcontroller. For example, you know, washing machine has some program available. Simply you switch on and you will press how much time you want to uh, wash that particular machine. So like that, you set the things. That much interface only available with the user. So for such things, it works very well. But here, we cannot decide which one is better, whether microprocessor, microcontroller. Both have their own importance in this Internet of Things, IoT. So based upon your requirement, we may either choose microprocessor based or microcontroller based. So here, one more disadvantage with microcontroller is it cannot perform analytics. Okay. Whereas if it is a microprocessor based, you can perform at least some part of analytics on the data collected by your IoT device, like the Raspberry Pi. Next. Here we have a few devices available in the market, IoT devices. These are all processor based, like the PC Duino. It is Android based operating system, and it will be programmed using C language. And the next one is BeagleBone Black, and it uses a Linux based Debian operating system with Arduino, what you call it as IDE tool. And this Arduino programming will be done using C language only again. And the next one is QB board. It's also Linux based, but supports both Android as well as Arduino. And finally, coming to the Raspberry Pi, here we have Raspbian operating system, which is a Linux based flavor, and it supports Python programming language. So here, why we are using Python programming language? I heard some question from the audience yesterday. So I want to just, 1 minute, I want to clear that. So here, this Python program has a large set of libraries where you can easily work with the IoT device. So you can do general type of programming. You can do this artificial intelligence programming. You can do Raspberry Pi programs. You can interact with the device. We can collect the data from the sensors. You can process them, and even we can perform some analytics. So all these are possible because of this Python programming language. Now, next coming to, but here the cost of these processor-based IoT devices are little bit expensive. It's available from 1,000 to 10,000 almost. For example, if you take Raspberry Pi Zero, it is available with 1,000 rupees. Slowly moving to uh, Raspberry Pi 3, it is available at the cost of 3,200 like that. And when we move for Raspberry Pi 4, if it is a 16 GB processor, then 16 GB RAM processor, then we need to pay almost 10,000 rupees like that. That depends upon the type of project you have chosen. So even in today's session, I'm going to demonstrate Raspberry Pi 3B model. Okay, now coming to other IoT devices which are microcontroller based. So here you can see two small pieces called as the Arduino Uno. Another one is Node MCU, or technically it is called as ESP8266 microcontroller. And here these microcontroller based devices are very much cost effective. You will get these devices below 500 rupees only. But here we need to program them using C programming. And you need to have a language called as Arduino IDE tool. And you need to write the program and upload into the microcontroller. The same program will be executing throughout its lifetime unless you change it. So like that. They have their own uses. Here, Arduino Uno, unfortunately, does not have any connections with the Wi-Fi, etc. So for that, we had to take the help of this Node MCU, which has this Wi-Fi feature also. So this is one of the advantage of using microcontroller-based IoT devices. That depends upon the type of project we choose. Okay. Next, coming to the Raspberry Pi model. So here, this is the Raspberry Pi model. Its size is almost equivalent to credit card size. Small credit card size, but it's so tiny, but it's so powerful also at the same time. So clockwise, I'm going to describe what are these all peripherals connected to this Raspberry Pi model. So here, through clockwise, you can see RCA video. RCA video is nothing but a coaxial cable video. In olden days, we used to use VCRs, VCPs like that. So that kind of things you can perform using this RCA video. Next, coming to the thing, audio jack. So you can listen to songs, you can insert headphones like that. And you can see LED status LEDs. So they will be keep on blinking, some green lights, red lights will be emitting. That's based upon sending the data outside this or incoming data. All such things will be glowing through this status LEDs. So when the status LEDs are glowing, we can think that the system is working perfectly. And coming to 3 o'clock, you can see on that Raspberry Pi model, USB 2.0. So here you can connect pen drives, something like that. Next, coming to Ethernet, you can insert your LAN cable and connect to the internet or local area network. Next, coming to CSI camera. Camera serial interface, we call it as. A tiny model camera module is available. You can connect through this one, or else you can connect USB based camera also. There is no problem using both the types. So of course it costs only 600 rupees like that. You can directly connect to this interface and you can get the images like that. Next one is the HDMI. high definition multimedia interface, we call it as. So you can connect to the display unit using this HDMI cable. Actually, one thing I want to tell about Raspberry Pi model. So this Raspberry Pi model is a headless item. That means it does not contain this keyboard, mouse, all these peripherals will not be there. Along with that, it doesn't also contain any screen also, that is LCD display like that. So you need to connect all these peripherals to the devices. This is like a board, CPU board like that. You need to externally connect all this. So if you want to see the display, what we do is we use the HDMI and use some converter and connect to your monitor like that, computer monitor. And coming to micro USB power, left side you can see at the bottom. So this is the ordinary charging cable for which you will be charging your mobile phones like that. That is enough. It takes 5 volts. And to start up the entire system, we require some kind of power source. That power source will be connected through this micro USB power slot. Simply, if you insert it, automatically the entire Raspberry Pi will be starting up. And next, coming to SD card slot. Here you can see this one is the very important part of this entire Raspberry Pi model. So this SD card, I need to talk few things about this SD card. So actually, this being a Raspberry Pi being a very tiny device, it does not contain built-in memory. It does not contain any hard disk like that. So here you need to insert some SD card, secure digital card with some 32 GB, and here the operating system will be also will be burned onto this SD card itself, and you have to insert it. Once you switch on the system using the micro USB power, automatically the Raspberry Pi will come up. So the operating system will be running through the SD card only, and the same SD card will be used for as an internal memory also. Whatever files you want to store related to operating system or your applications, everything will be stored on the SD card. Once the operating system is loaded, you can see all these things like the Linux desktop. I will show you very soon after this. And the next one is DSI connector display. So it is nothing but display serial interface, where you can connect a small display unit with some 3 lines or 4 lines, where you can display temperature, short things you can display. So for that we may use this DSI connector display like that. And next, coming to this GPIO headers. This is the one of the most important part of this Raspberry Pi model. GPIO stands for General Purpose Input Output. These GPIO headers are the main part of this Raspberry Pi, where this Raspberry Pi will be interacting with the outside world. All the sensors and actuators, everything are connected to these GPIO headers. We have we have 40 GPIO header pins, which are available on the Raspberry Pi model. And you can perform so many things using these GPIO headers. They are input to the system. You can transmit data. You can get the input from the sensors. All these things will be happening at GPIO headers. And at the center, you can see one second. So this is the main processor. It has a built-in processor. Just now I told you about that in the previous slide. And at the beside right side, you can see one more small processor that is called as the GPU, graphics processing unit. So this is the brain of the Raspberry Pi model, brain and heart of the Raspberry Pi model. Next, we'll go for the next slide. This is all about the Raspberry Pi model. And yes, coming to sensors and actuators. So here there are hundreds of different types of sensors are available in the market. Around it ranges between 100 to 300, 400 rupees, sometimes 3000 rupees also. So different types of sensors are available. Depending type of project, you will choose a set of these sensors. For example, if you want to go for some agricultural project using Raspberry Pi, then we choose a set of sensors like, for example, water flow sensor, humidity sensor, and soil moisture sensor. Right side you can see. So such kind of sensors will be chosen. Here you can see rain sensor also, like that. If you want to go for security, if you want to develop any security system, then we use these IR sensors. At the bottom you can see, left bottom, IR sensors. Next, you can see LDR sensors, color sensors, ultrasonic sensors. I will give a demonstration on ultrasonic sensor very soon. Next, IR sensor, like that. That depends upon the type of project we choose. So here, these are the different kinds of sensors available. So here, the quality of these sensors also varies from low cost to high cost. For example, if you take a temperature sensor, it collects the data around 1 meter, like that. That kind of sensors are available at the cost of 200 or 300, like that. But if you spend 3000 or 4000, that particular sensor, temperature sensor, can collect the entire room temperature. So like that, the quality of the products will be changing from lower cost to high cost. So for learning purpose and to develop any prototype, you can perform those tasks using with this low cost sensors itself. Next, coming to the actuators. So these are the four types of actuators which are present. There are many more are there, but as a part of our topic, these are enough, I thought. So one is, you can see relay modules. There are two relay modules. First one is 4 relay module. Second one is single relay module. I will explain what is a single relay module. Somebody asked yesterday how to control electric fan or a ceiling fan, like that, from a remote location using IoT device. Here, this single relay model can control one device at a time. So it works like a switch, nothing but a electronic switch. So this switch is controlled using the some program. It may be a C program of a microcontroller based Arduino Uno, or it may be a Raspberry Pi. So both it will be working. So what it will do is simply it will do on and off. So once this IoT device like Raspberry Pi or the Arduino Uno, if it is connected to the internet, you can develop your own application, some Android application, and you can control them. That is for one single appliance. If you want to control more than one electric appliance, then we take the help of this 4 relay module, 10 relay modules, like that. If you want to control 10 electric appliances in your house, you need to buy 10 relay module, like that. So each module, this relay module will control one electric appliance at a time with 240 to some 260 volts, like that. It will be operating on that. So through the program, we'll send a signal to switch on a particular relay module. Automatically, some magnetic gate will be there. When it is attached, it is on. When it is what you call it as when the connection is lost, automatically a spring will be there which will pull back that particular gate, and it will switch off like that. So in that way, these modules will be working on. And coming to this servo motor and stepper motor, these are widely used in robotics. So servo motor is a rotary actuator which moves in angular or linear position. Mostly they are used in robotic arms for lifting. And so for example, if you have a hand, if you want to make a fist like this, bring all the fingers and close your hand like that, fist we call it as, then we require this servo motors. So it moves, uh, the RPM will not be like the general motors which we use in our houses. So this motor will be moving in angular movements. Suppose if you want to move a robotic arm for 45 degrees, we'll set it as 45 degrees like that. So that it will rotate up to only 45 degrees and it stops. 90 degrees means 90, 180, 360. Whatever you want, you can set the angle. In that way only, that particular part will be moving. You might have heard about robotic arm, which will be performing some work in the factories, like the car manufacturing companies. Color will be sprayed using robotic arm. In such cases, this servo motor as well as the stepper motor also. Stepper motor also very similar to it, but it will have a very high holding torque, so that it can lift the some kind of weighted materials from the ground, and it can place and some other location like that. So this stepper motor is very powerful one, and it also works in the same manner. And here this stepper motor will perform a precise positioning. Usually this stepper motor is used in our computers also for rotating these hard disk drives, robotics, antennas, dish antennas like that. They will be moving according to the instructions given by the program like that. So these are all about sensors and actuators which are available in the market, and these are available at very low cost only. So here, coming to operating systems which you can run on Linux. So these are the different flavors of Raspberry Pi operating systems where you can install on Raspberry Pi and you can run. One is the Raspbian. This Raspbian operating system is already installed on my Raspberry Pi device. So it is a flavor of Linux Debian. We call it as VZ port optimized. Next one is Arc. Arc is an Arc Linux port for devices which are with AMD processor devices mostly. Next one is Fedora. Linux is from the Fedora Linux flavor, and it is also optimized, means customized for the Raspberry Pi device. Open ELC, and last one, RISC OS, is a very fast and compact operating system because the instructions or the source code for this RISC operating system is very low, so it can be loaded very fastly. So depending upon type of project we are choosing, we need to choose one of the operating system. But for learners, it is better to use only Raspbian. So where to get this operating system? When you buy Raspberry Pi, it is not loaded with any operating system. It is a blank actually. So what you have to do is you have to take the SD card, download the software from Raspberry Pi website, and you have to install on the SD card. So that will be, we can do it. The website will guide you through the entire process, how to install this Raspberry Pi operating system, Raspbian operating system on your IoT device. And once it is installed, you have to insert into the Raspberry Pi slot of the SD card slot, and you can start using it. So this is all about Linux, that is operating system for Raspberry Pi. So these are the steps actually. So installing operating system images. So this can be easily done without any problem. You have to insert the SD card into your laptop in a given slot, download that image and click on it. That will burn onto the SD card. that excuse me, that image card, Raspberry Pi imager will be burned onto the SD card. Once you insert the SD card, it starts working. So these are the steps how to install operating system images onto the SD card. Excuse me. Now, coming to the GPIO pins, I'm not going to talk much about this GPIO pins, but most useful GPIO pins only we'll be dealing with. So at the top, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, something labeled like that. Those pins are labeled with 1, 2, 3, 4. So here, excuse me, layout will be available in two forms. You can read the pins in this way, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Another one is BCM, Broadcom layout. In Broadcom layout, what we do is we read the GPIO pin number. For example, at the right side, you can see at the right side, you can see 10th and 12th one. That is numbered as 8th one is numbered as GPIO 14, 10th one is GPIO 15, 12th one is numbered as GPIO 18, like that. So these are the most useful pins which we'll be using throughout our session. The old power supply is also available with one second. So am I audible? Yes, am I audible? Okay. Okay. So here the sensors require sometimes 3 volts, sometimes they require 5 volts. Based upon the type of sensors we use, we may take the help of 3 volts or 5 volts, like that. And you can see the 6th pin as a ground. So like that, some ground pins are available, 9th, 6th, and 25th, 20th, 14th, 38th, like that. They are scattered here and there. So wherever you require, you can use this as a ground. Ground means some negative charge, like that. So if you take power supply 5 volts, you need to take this ground also from any of the pins which are named as ground, like that. So this is all about the pins layout. So describing each and every pin takes a lot of time. So we need to go for even a live session, how to operate a Raspberry Pi and so on. So for that, I'm stopping here for this Raspberry Pi GPIO pins. So simply I want to give you some idea about how these GPIO pins are going to be used. Throughout the session, you can see this 12th number pin, GPIO 18, will be used mostly. So GPIO 18 PCM, pulse code modulation, we call it as pulse code modulation clock, we call it as. So we'll be using GPIO 18 as the pin which we'll be using throughout the program. So coming to, okay. And one more thing, as I told you, the Raspberry Pi does not have any, what you call it as peripherals like the keyboard, mouse, or display unit. So we need to carry all these things with us. It is a difficult task to carry all these things. Actually, Raspberry is very tiny. You can put it in your pocket, but to carry all these things, it is a big task. So for that, we have an solution. What you can do is you can use your laptop as a laptop peripherals like your laptop screen, your laptop keyboard, and mouse pointers, etc. You can use them as a uh, substitute them to the Raspberry Pi and you can use them. But here we need to download one middleware called as MobaXterm. So simply if you type MobaXterm, it will be automatically downloaded. It supports all the versions of Windows 10, 8, and 7. Simply if you double click on it, automatically the MobaXterm will be installed. And coming to how to connect your Raspberry Pi to this MobaXterm. So here, first you need to run a program called as to find out the IP address. So we have an IP scanner program. If you click on it, it will discover your IP address of your Raspberry Pi, and that IP address has to be noted by you. And when you open this MobaXterm window, you need to enter this details IP address. Simply, if you click on the connect button, automatically it will connect. I'll show the live process for this one very soon after this session. So like that. Here are, these are the steps which I just told you now. Raspberry Pi without monitor or keyboard. That's why we use our laptop as a monitor and keyboard and mouse purpose. So this is a network scan where it will discover your IP address of your particular Raspberry Pi. So we have to note down that IP address. So no sooner you enter, you need to type the user ID and password. Mostly it will be Pi as the username and Raspberry Pi as the default password. Later you need to change all this. So here, this is the session settings. Once you click on it, you need to enter the remote host name, that is the IP address of the Raspberry Pi. And if you want to specify any name, that is Pi, and it will be listening on the port number 22. Right side you can see. So using these things, you can connect it. Finally, you have to click on connect button, which will be at the bottom of this slide. It is not visible here. So using that, you can connect to the Raspberry Pi. So now we'll go for live demo, how to connect your Raspberry Pi and all this. So please give me 5 to 7 minutes. I have to do all the setup and I will come back.
Yeah, participants, please wait for 2 minutes. Sir is arranging live demo. Please wait for 2 minutes.
Yes. So welcome back again. Here I'm displaying the screen for MOBA Extern. So at the left side, you can see user sessions. The IP address of the Raspberry Pi is 169.754 157.48. So simply right click and finally you have to check this execute command, and it will be connecting to the Raspberry Pi. So this is the user ID for login. Yes. Now you can see the command prompt, Raspberry Pi command prompt. Here you need to type one more command, start LXDE. So here you can slowly, the screen will be occupying Raspberry Pi desktop, and finally we'll come back to the Raspberry Pi desktop. This is the Raspberry Pi desktop, and you can see all the icons very similar to uh, Linux operating system. Here at the left side, the bottom, you have a start button. So you choose this system tools. From that, choose one terminal, LX terminal. So using this LX terminal, you can type all the Linux commands. All the Linux commands will be supported in Raspberry Pi also. So simply type ls space star dot py. All Python programs will be displayed. One second. So I'm changing my folder. I'm going to Atal day 1. So here are some programs related to another folder, session 1. So here you can see some programs, LED1 and ultrasonic demo 2 buzzer, like that. So this is the program you can see. You need to import some of the libraries, like the, it's not visible. You can use IDE tool also, like the Tony Python. It's at the bottom. I will show in a large font. So it comes along with IDE tools also. Once the operating system comes, you can use this IDE tool also as per your requirement. Here, this is the program. So here you can see the two import statements. We need to import all these library modules from the rpi.gpio, and it is also named as, again, GPIO only. So we are setting this mode to gpio.bcm. So here we use the board pin numbering. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll be using the actual board pin number. Like for example, in the 4th line, you can see that is according to numbering, it is 5th line, gpio.setup. So here we are engaging pin number 18 on the Raspberry Pi, and it is going to be treated as a output. So the pin number is 11 actually, but as per the BCM layout, it will be 18. And here we are putting that in exception handling mode. So if anything goes wrong, you need to come out of the program. So you should not close the program, what you call it, in a abnormal termination. So normally had to terminate the program. For that we are using this try catch blocks, etc. So this while loop is there. It will be a infinite loop, and here gpio.output 18. So here we are sending a signal to that particular pin with gpio.high, means the LED will be glowing, and we have a delay time of 1 second. So we take the help of time module. In that we have a method called as, or a function called as sleep. So it will be delayed for 1 second, and some output will be displayed like print on. Afterwards, again you can see one more step, GPIO dot output, same pin. Here this time we are sending some signal as GPIO dot low. So automatically the LED will be uh, turn out. So like that, after one more second, you will the time will be delayed, and this while loop will be executing unless any keyboard interruption. Suppose if you press any key, automatically the program will terminate. And finally, here we have a method called as cleanup. So all the pins which are engaged with the program will be released. Otherwise, what will happen is, if you try to run another program, it will cause some exception, some runtime errors. Exception is nothing but some runtime errors. Runtime errors. So now I will show you some demonstration. One second. First, let me check the setup and I will demonstrate it. One second. See, you can see some LEDs are glowing for which are switching on and off for a second like that. So this is as per the program we have written. On the terminal also you can see the values on and off every second. It is switching on and switching off. So here, as per the program, I have engaged this pin number 18. So you can see this pin number also. So pin number is pin number 18. It is the sixth one. So you can see this pin number sixth one. This is the pin number sixth one, which I have engaged with the GPIO pins, and this last pin is for the ground purpose. So using those two pins, I'm able to run this application. This is like a hello world program for the beginners. So directly you cannot become perfect. So you need to practice few programs. This is the first program we need to execute on the Raspberry Pi for the learning purpose. Later you can go ahead with some complex types using sensors and all this. So next program I will show you one sensor called as ultrasonic sensor. Using ultrasonic sensor, you can find the range. It is nothing but the range finder. And if anything comes in between, within that range, automatically the sensor will send a signal to the Raspberry Pi, and it will give some beeping sound like that. So we'll see that program soon after this. Yes, I will come back within 1 minute, 2 minutes. I have to set up another sample program, ultrasonic sensor, and I will come back within 2 minutes or 4 minutes.
Participants, please wait for 1 minute. Sorry, setting the Raspberry Pi devices. Please wait for 1 minute, please. Participants, meanwhile, You can fill the attendance form that is available for only 10 to 15 minutes. Please fill it. Attendance link posted in the chat box as well as group also. In WhatsApp group also available. Please fill. It is available for only 10 to 15 minutes. This is forenoon attendance for session 1.
So here, so I'm opening the Tony IDE, Python IDE tool, and I will explain the program. Here I've attached ultrasonic sensor to the Raspberry Pi. I have taken a extension called as the T cobbler, which the layout of the GPIO pins. Here the GPIO pins layout of the Raspberry Pi are extended to the this breadboard, and on the breadboard you can see the layout. Okay. So here I'm engaging 3 pins. That is, for example, if you take here ultrasonic sensor contains totally 4 pins. One is the trigger pin, another one is the echo pin, one is for voltage purpose, and the last one will be the for ground purpose. So I will show you the ultrasonic sensor. So this is a typical ultrasonic sensor. So I have set the distance for 100 centimeters. If anything comes in between that range, automatically the buzzer will be uh, beeping some sound and display some hurdle has come in between the this ultrasonic sensor. So here I've taken the help of a T cobbler. We call it as a T cobbler extension. All the GPIO pins will be laid on onto the breadboard. From there, we'll be operating the sensor. So we'll try to run the program. So you can see that some display is coming on the terminal. That is the distance is 2 meters, 294 centimeters like that. So here, if anything comes in between, you can listen to the beeping sound. See alert obstacle ahead. So if I put my hand in between in front of the ultrasonic sensor, automatically uh, the sensor will sense here, and it will give the signal to the Raspberry Pi, and Raspberry Pi will emit some sound, beeping sound like that. I have connected one buzzer also. So this kind of application is useful for blind people. Uh, People already created some specs for the blind people which contain these kind of sensors. if any obstacle comes in between them, automatically it will alert that particular person who has some disability, vision disability like that. So this is all about the ultrasonic sensor connected to the Raspberry Pi, and I will show the program. So there is no obstacle because it is emitting signal to the roof of this building. So if suppose if I put anything like this, my hand, automatically you can see that some obstacle has come in between this in front of this ultrasonic sensor. This is the working model of the ultrasonic sensor. Mostly this driverless cars, especially unmanned vehicles, robots, all these are based upon this kind of ultrasonic sensors. So this is one of the important sensors which is useful for any IoT project. Okay. I think I have come with a little bit poor preparation. So I request the audience to excuse for this one, as we have no idea about displaying all this in this way. So if possible in the afternoon session, I will explain once again this thing, and we'll go for how to connect Raspberry to the cloud. So this is the end of the session. So from audience side, if you have any questions, you can please ask me. I will try to answer your questions, queries like that.
Sir, I have a doubt.
Yes.
Sir, can you please explain once again how you have connected this Raspberry Pi board to the laptop?
Yes, we have a middleware called as MOBA Xterm. MOBA Xterm is the name of the application middleware. It will act as a intermediate between your Raspberry Pi as well as your any device, like it may be a desktop or a laptop, and you can use your peripherals for controlling your Raspberry Pi instead of carrying all those things. MOBA Xterm. I will mention in the here. I will type in the message box, chat box, MOBA Xterm. So simply if you type this MOBA Xterm, you will reach to that site. You type this in the Google and it will take you to that particular website. There it will guide you through. Depends upon type of operating system you are using. All versions are available. Okay.
So we have to just install this MOBA Xterm in our system, and
Yes.
then
Yes. You have to install on your system. Then using LAN cable, you have to connect your Raspberry Pi and your laptop. Then you have to run this application called as the MOBA Xterm. When you run this MOBA Xterm application, automatically your device will not be connected in the first event. First, you have to scan your IP address of your Raspberry Pi. There is a small module in that MOBA Xterm where you can find the IP address of your Raspberry Pi, and you have to note down that IP address of your Raspberry Pi, and you have to type that IP address. One second. Okay. Close this. Oh. See, you can see this is the MOBA Xterm actually. So first time users, what they have to do is they have to go for tools. In that, you have to go choose this network scanner. So here you have to type the range in between, and you will find some devices connected to the this particular MOBA Xterm, and you have to note down that IP address of that Raspberry Pi. And when you are trying to connect, then you have to type your IP address of a Raspberry Pi, as well as the port number while connecting it. So I will show you once again how to do that. So here you can see mobile extern. I am switching on that application. Simply press the run button and mobile extern will come up. So like this, see, already once it is noted down, this is the IP address 169.254.157.48. So using that IP address, simply right click on that and click on the execute command. So here it will ask you for user ID and password of Raspberry Pi. So I will type Pi as the user ID. And by default, I have set the password. And here you need to type one more command called as start lxde. Start lxde is the command. Now you can see the Raspberry Pi operating system on the desktop. So see, slowly it will be occupying like this. And you will be switched to the Raspberry Pi operating system. And here you have the terminal to interact. You go to the system tools, open the LX terminal, and you can go ahead with your program, any Python program like that. I hope I have cleared your query, madam.
Yes, sir. Sir, you showed that two IP addresses were coming. So how you have chosen one of these?
So here, actually, here I connected 2 or 3 systems. Because of that, it is showing 2 IP address. Otherwise, it will show only one IP address.
Okay.
That IP address will be your Raspberry Pis.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Welcome. Any more queries?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sir, by using mobile extern, we don't require any OS in the OS need to put in the SD.
Definitely, because you have to run Raspberry Pi parallelly. Then only you can interact with your Raspberry Pi. As I said, mobile extern is a middleware. Okay.
So in the SD card, we have already OS loaded.
Yes.
And sir, this SD card is only for to carry the OS, or we can put any images for our image processing and other things.
Yeah, everything you can put it on that SD card. That depends upon the size of the card. You have to go for 64 GB like that.
Okay, okay, okay. So according to our application, we can go for higher version of SD.
Yes, yes, sir. That depends upon your requirement.
Okay, okay.
From
Sir. Thank you.
32 GB to any size you can go, 128 GB also if required.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Sir, will you show any camera module attached or not, sir?
Camera module. Right
Yes.
now, I have attached USB camera module actually, which I am demonstrating to you now. See, you have USB slots available on the Raspberry Pi. From there also you can connect your camera.
Nice. The pin which is available in the board called as camera pins, there we can also attach the camera.
Sure, sure. You can do it. Right now it is not available with me. Otherwise,
Yes, sir.
I would have used that one only.
Yes, yes. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. So, any more questions, queries?
Yeah, participants, if you have any questions from participants, please. Sir is ready to answer. Okay. Any queries from participants? Any queries, please? Okay. So thank you very much, sir, for your inspiring speech along with the hands-on session on Raspberry Pi, and you showed different sensors, lighting honor of application you showed, and motion ultrasonic sensor you explained clearly, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And we have afternoon session also by Rajkumar sir. That is also hands-on. Okay, we'll see clearly. And the next session by Professor Tarachand from IIT Dhanbad. The topic on that is the topic called IoT with cloud. Don't miss that session. And I'm giving break for 10 minutes. After that, you can join participants. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Okay,
Rajkumar
thank you,
sir.
sir.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Engineering is redefining life, and crafting engineers is a social commitment. It requires a